Hi, I'm Lou Ann Hunt, and welcome to another exciting edition of Lynchburg 360. He was Lynchburg's first African-American mayor and a longtime civil rights activist. M.W. Thornhill has always enjoyed a place in the city's history. Now he'll have his own spot here on 5th Street as well.
I was commissioned by the CDC to create a monument of Mr. Thornhill. And the process has been ongoing. The fundraising is still ongoing. I started the bust, which is the hardest part of the sculpture to do. I always do the body separately. It's easier because it's going to be 9 feet tall. I don't want to be on a step ladder trying to work out details for what the head looks like. And so I started that back in April and into March, April. And we've gotten to this point now where I'm working with family members because, you know, of course, Mr. Thornhill is deceased, and working with the CDC board, making slight revisions, more hair, sharper cheekbones, things like that until everybody's happy. And then basically when that happens, then it'll be joined onto the body and the sculpture will be done in clay. When I worked on the water bearer was a zinc statue, and as we've established before, zinc was never meant to be a monumental material because it's not a forever metal like bronze is. It basically sat out there at the reservoir and corroded until it collapsed, and that was a complete restoration project from the ground up, where I actually had to make molds off of existing body parts. And there was probably a quarter, maybe 25 to 30% of it that was missing, which had either been stolen by vandals or just shattered so that it couldn't be recognized anymore, that had to be resculpted. This is a complete sculpture from the ground up, in clay. And then once the 9-foot model is approved in clay, and then it kind of does become the process of where I jumped in with the water bearer, where there'll be multiple molds made off of it that are rubber molds with plaster backings, which are the mother molds that hold the rubber in its shape, and then the whole thing will be cast about a quarter of an inch thick in wax, and then I'll take those waxes out to Colorado to the foundry that I use, and then we will turn it into bronze, and then I'll bring it back and reassemble it here and weld it and finish it here in Lynchburg. The statue has to be 9 feet tall because when we started to look at it, we started thinking, how tall was Mr. Thornhill? And we kind of threw that out the window a little bit because in the roundabout on 5th Street where this is going to go, cars are going to be whizzing around. It's a large volume of space. That's a large roundabout. So we decided that it has to be life and a half size. So Greek proportion wise, if a figure was 6 feet tall, life and a half, which is heroic size, would be 9 feet tall, which is life and a half. And so basically the head that I've been working on is life and a half size, what a normal human head size would be. And so when it's 9 feet tall in bronze, it's also going to go up onto a pedestal, which is at least 4 feet tall. And now working with downtown, with the city government, and Tom Martin, a lot of guys have been coming up with different plans for how to do this. And so the ground itself is also going to be elevated to keep cars from crashing into it or anything like that. And so the whole thing is actually going to be about, who knows, anywhere from 15 to 20 feet up in the air to the top of his head. So it's going to be very visible. If we had done it life size in that volume, it would have just been lost. It would have just looked like a small man standing there instead of a monument. And T.D. Thornhill was a great man, and the first African-American mayor of Lynchburg, business owner, civil rights advocate, rabble-rouser. That's what I loved about him. And so basically this is going to be something that people can remember, so forever. From what I've heard, he was larger than life. He was the one, now from what I've heard, that got Martin Luther King down here to Lynchburg and got Martin Luther King down here to march. And he knew a lot of amazingly influential people. It's like I bumped into Mark Warner year and a half ago, and I said, Mr. Warner, it's an honor to meet you. And I told him what I did. He goes, "Oh, I love your work," and I was flattered that he knew who I was. And I said, "Hey, listen, you're in town. You knew who T.D. Thornhill was," and he's like, "He was a great man." And I said, "Well, I'm going to hit your office up then for a donation for the fundraiser." And darned if 2 months later we didn't get a check for $5,000 from Mark Warner. So that's how influential T.D. was. So, well, a lot of cities are tearing down monuments right now. I have my own opinions about it. Everybody has their own opinions about it. But as far as I know, Lynchburg is going to be the first city putting up a monument to a civil rights leader. And of course, when we started this process 2 years ago, we had no idea that all this was going to be going on. And it makes the project that much more special to me. And I hope that it opens up a dialogue. And I hope that it's a step in the right direction of healing for, I know it for this area, but hopefully it causes a ripple effect. That's what I would like to see out of it. And it's a powerful experience for me to know how important this man is, and to be the one in charge of doing this is a tremendous amount of weight and responsibility. I think that this is, even though he's been passed away now for over a year, I think that somewhere I know that he's smiling, that what he started really is continuing even after his absence in a way that he never would have imagined. I'm sure he never imagined that there'd be a 9-foot-tall bronze statue of him going almost directly across from a business that he owned on 5th Street. And I think that he would be tickled to death. So, and I know a lot of his friends that are still alive are tickled to death. And they've all come by and met me at some point, and it's been an honor to get a chance to work with all these people. So. The completion date, what we're looking for is we're looking for late fall of 2018, and if all goes well, there are hurdles to go through. The hurdles that have been the most time involving so far is, it takes a lot of time to work on this because it is in clay. It goes on a little ball at a time, and to be able to make everybody happy, I don't know if that's possible, but to be able to make the majority happy, that takes time. The body will be much faster. Nobody's going to drive by and look at his elbow and say, that doesn't look like T.D.'s elbow. But his face has to be recognizable, because once this is up, generations in the future, and then this will stand there for probably thousands of years. Who knows? Bronze goes back thousands of years. It's going to be the way that Mr. Thornhill is remembered for future generations. There'll be photos of him, of course, but everybody that drives around this roundabout and goes up the 5th Street corridor every day is going to see this version of T.D. Thornhill. So it's very important to get it right, and I've been working a lot with the community to be able to make sure that happens. But we're looking at hopefully October of 2018.
Finding a spot to park downtown can sometimes be a challenge, especially with the holidays upon us and folks crowding down here to get their shopping done. But did you know, if you park in one of our 4 city parking lots downtown, paying for parking is as easy as taking out your phone?
Well, we've just started with our new pay-by-cell parking app with the company called Passport Parking. So instead of just being able to go up to the meter and put in your credit card or coin, you can now download the Passport Parking app on your phone, create a user profile, and just pay for your parking using your cell phone. To get the Passport Parking app, you go into your app search feature and search Passport Parking. Once you see the Passport Parking app, you download that onto your phone. And through that, you create a user profile, enter in your credit card information, and once you finish that, you'll be all set to use the app. Once it's downloaded on your phone, just go to your app, press it, and around each parking lot that we have paid parking, we have zone numbers. Punch in the zone number and your appropriate space number that you've parked at, and you can begin parking. The app is specifically for our parking lots that have the paid parking, the pay stations that are located in them. What's convenient about downtown parking is that we have something available for you within a 5-minute walk. So whether you're using the on-street spaces that are free, just via the time limit, 2 hour, 1 hour, or you choose to park in one of our off-street facilities at the current parking rates, they're all easily accessible within a 5-minute walk from your downtown destination. The Downtown Lynchburg Association is working on a new wayfinding and parking map program right now. The new parking maps have just been printed and are being released. We're also working with them and some of the other businesses to create better wayfinding signage in our downtown so that folks visiting can not only find the businesses and attractions that they're looking for, but also so that they can find the parking that we have, so that they don't just keep circling around. It's easy for them to get to, easy for them to get to their destinations and enjoy their time here in Lynchburg. We've just entered into an agreement with the Criminal Justice Academy to have the parking lot at 12th and Commerce Street available for public parking. So during the weekdays, Monday through Friday, that lot is open from 5 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. and then starting Friday at 5 p.m. through the weekend until Monday morning, it's open for public parking. So anybody coming downtown that wants to use the Bluff Walk or visit some of those businesses down on that end of Commerce have that available convenient parking as well.
It was once owned by Thomas Jefferson and is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. No, it's not Monticello. This attraction is more than 200 feet tall. In this month's Day Tripper segment, Steve Smallshaw takes us on the road to see one of the 7 natural wonders of the world.
What is it about Natural Bridge that people are drawn to?
Just the beauty of the Natural Bridge. When you make your way around the corner, there's just a feeling you can't describe when you walk around the corner and see that gorgeous rock arch right in front of you. I can't even describe it. It's pretty spectacular. You know, the Natural Bridge, it's 215 feet tall, meaning it's taller than Niagara Falls, and the Statue of Liberty could fit quite nicely underneath the stone arch itself. And the fact that it was just formed by little old Cedar Creek flowing right underneath of it is always impressive to me. So people are always just impressed that just water over time can build something so amazing.
Okay. And it's also on one of those rare places that is also on the National Register of Historic Places. Is that right?
Absolutely, yes. Which it just means lots of important things have happened here at the park. Thomas Jefferson did own the property. He was the first European owner to own the Natural Bridge, and famous people from Calvin Coolidge, Daniel Boone, all kinds of other famous people came through this area. This was a place to travel during the time of the Great Wagon Road. People coming down from New England to make their way further south and west. This was just a great place to stop and one of the easier places to cross the creek with a natural bridge already here.
Exactly. So people actually used it as a bridge for a while.
Absolutely, and it's still actually a bridge today. Route 11 does go right across the top. Okay. So it's truly a natural bridge because we use it today to travel back and forth.
All right. What has changed since it became a state park about a year ago?
Well, I get a cool ranger hat, so that's pretty exciting. But also, it means there's going to be a lot more funding from the state level, so we're going to be adding in a lot more trails coming up soon. The master plan for the park should be done pretty soon. Other things that have changed, the price has gone down significantly. So it's going to be an $8 admission fee for adults to see the bridge. Anyone between 6 and 12, it's a $6 ticket, and 5 and under is free. So that means a lot more people can come visit the bridge with that lower price point.
And it's much more beyond the bridge. It's a trail system, it's forests, everything.
Absolutely. We actually have 1,500 acres here at the park, which means besides the beautiful bridge, we've also got a couple of places to view both the Allegheny and the Blue Ridge Mountains, with about 7 miles of other trails here on the property, which is there are only going to be more trails as the years go on.
Okay. So a great place to come out and get your exercise and also really see one of the natural wonders of the world.
Absolutely. This has been on a couple different lists of natural wonders over the years, and it's a great place to come with the whole family, and including the pets. So please feel free to bring your dogs along with you as long as they're on a leash, and it's a great place to spend the whole day.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about the Monacan Indian presence here.
We actually have a recreation of a Monacan town. The Monacans would have been the first people in this area, and our exhibit is essentially what a typical town would have been like in the late 1600s. Okay.
So it's important to recognize that heritage of the site.
Absolutely, and we do work with the Monacan tribe. In fact, the person who runs our exhibit is part of the Monacan Nation, so we get to have that firsthand knowledge of what it would have been like for those people here at the Natural Bridge.
What is it that people see when they come here to this part of the park?
A glimpse to the past. It's our goal of ours to protect and preserve a cultural and history of the Monacan people here. So when people visit us, they actually get a little glimpse into what life was like during the time period that we represent, which is 1699. So you've got a couple of things going on. You have the Monacan people still living in towns like this, having families around them, and at the same time, you're starting to see that the Europeans are coming in, and they're bringing trade goods, and they're starting to cause a change in our culture. So it's a cause and effect that's going on with them coming and what's happening to the culture. So you'll start to see how we lived, what we're doing, and how change is coming toward us.
So it's, no pun intended, it's sort of a bridge between the two time periods.
It really is. It is. We use the word bridge a lot here. You're absolutely right. It is a bridge between the time periods. Because we don't do first-person interpretation, we're able to talk about this time period, but also answer questions up to what's going on within our tribes today, some of the things that happened between today and the time period that we represent. So that's a good analogy that we were able to bridge the things from the past to what's going on today.
And it's so important, so much of Virginia history is measured from, once the European settlers came here forward.
Right.
But there were folks here much longer than that, and it's important to recognize them.
Absolutely. Well, what I find that makes this a really interesting exhibit is that we have Monacans who have been involved with this since it began, which is 1999 is when we came down here to start to build this exhibit. But the one thing that we do, and I'm a huge proponent for, is we have the Native people who live in this region part of this program. And we are here to help direct the stories and the way that we want the stories to be told and how we would like to have our history reflected. Right. A lot of places, other people are doing that, and people mean well. So it's not that I'm trying to say anything negative about that, but I think the level of authenticity gets bumped up a notch when you actually have the people themselves being responsible for what is being portrayed.
And do you see your visitors sort of respond to that?
Absolutely. I have visitors who come in and sometimes they'll compare us to another historic site or an area like that. But inevitably people will come in and they'll come to us and they'll go, wow, I learned so much more here than I learned at place B, or I like the way that, you all are doing this, because I didn't feel like I could freely ask somebody else this, or when they answered me that they just didn't give me the depth of information that we really wanted. And so I think people are very appreciative. We walk a fine line in the time period that we are and what we represent. That's always an issue, with all the things that's going on all over the place. But it's up to us as the professionals here to always try to bring people back to the reason we're here and answer the questions and keep the focus on what we're trying to do.
And as Katie was telling me, it's also very much tied to the SOL standards of learning here in Virginia. Big
Absolutely. When this program started here, we're in our 18th season. We did not have a lot of school kids who came to the Natural Bridge before we arrived, and we started to bring more school groups here. And we have, over the years, developed really, really good SOL-based programs. I have teachers who have been with us for 15 or 16 years, and they come in and before they leave, they'll pull me over and they'll go, I just want you to know that this is our last year. We're retiring. But we brought our new teachers here because we want them to know what you guys do, so they'll be able to continue to bring these schools here. So I give a lot of kudos to the teachers who bring the kids here. It's not an easy job to load these kids up on school buses and bring them out on field trips. So they must think we're worth it, that we're worthwhile with what we do for them to continue to come back year after year.
An important part of Virginia history for kids to learn.
Yes, it is. The one thing that I notice, a lot of children think Native Americans don't exist anymore.
Right.
And
surprising.
Yeah, they'll go. They just, so it's a part of saying we're still here. We're still here. And It's a part of us getting them to understand that even though we may not still live in houses like that or in towns like we're depicting here, it doesn't mean that we're still not Native people living here today, practicing part of our cultural exercises and beliefs.
Have you noticed an increase in visitation since it became a state park?
I think there definitely has been an uptick since I've been here, with people just being able to access the bridge more with that lower price point. And we get, of course, being in the press, hearing about us being the newest state park has helped. So absolutely, in a really great way, we've had a lot more people come into the park.
And this is one of those things, even if you've already been, you probably want to come back from time to time.
Oh, yes. And over the years, now that we're a state park, we're going to be adding a lot more new things. In the future, come back and see us. I can guarantee you we'll have more trails, a lot more educational programming, so all kinds of great things.
What do you hope folks walk away from here with? What kind of memory?
Remembering that this really is a special place in Virginia, that Virginia just has some wonderful features, that you don't have to go too far to see something spectacular.
That's all for this edition of Lynchburg 360. Keep in mind that if you're headed downtown for business or pleasure, give yourself a few extra minutes to navigate the detours as crews work to replace the Main Street Bridge. But no matter which way you go, make sure you take some time to stop and enjoy the view.